The Golden Boy and the Newcomer. You'd think that if two of the brightest climbers on the same team lived within the same time zone, spoke the same language of Watts, and wore the same shade of UAE Team Emirates white, they'd be inseparable. A modern-day Froome-Thomas, an older brother-younger brother bond, forged in lactate and espressos. But here we are in 2025, Tadej Pogačar, the multiple Tour de France conqueror turned walking Watt machine, and Isaac Del Toro, the suddenly terrifyingly competent Mexican prodigy. They're rarely spotted on the same ride, sometimes they are. They share a team, a jersey sponsor, and occasionally an awkward smile at training camps, but not the same training schedule. Why? Well, because even inside UAE Team Emirates, the line between let's nurture him and let's not break him runs like the Col de Galabra, steep, cold and lined with journalists. Del Toro's rise in 2024 was one of those rare cycling fairy tales that made seasoned pundits choke on their gels. He wasn't meant to explode onto the scene this fast. The 20-year-old entered the UAE development team setup looking like a long-term project, a climber with an engine but without the European craft. His name popped up now and then in obscure Spanish under-23 events, followed by polite murmurs of, "One for the future that guy is." And then, in a year, he went from future prospect to Pogacar's probable understudy. He started smashing training numbers, winning summit finishes, and being thrown into the conversations that made the team's psychologists nervously glance at their laptops. Meanwhile, Pogačar, with 5 Grand Tour wins, 2 Monument richer, and perennially tanned from the Italian sun, was already operating at galactic intensity. His training blocks looked like NASA launch simulations. Altitude camps, precision fueling, lactate tests that make ordinary humans faint just reading them. Mix those two ecosystems and you get chaos. The kind of chaos that Max Schiadri, UAE's performance manager, politely calls development differentiation. In plain English, Isaac's still human, Tadej hasn't been for a while. So when fans ask, why doesn't Del Toro just train with Pogačar permanently? The answer is simple, because if he did, there's a non-zero chance that he'd combust somewhere near Andorra and we'd have to leave flowers at the roadside. Different gears, different worlds. Every winter, Pogačar's social media becomes a collage of absurdity. Snow-lined roads in Livigno, 6-hour rides that end with him smiling as if it was a recovery spin, group shots featuring UAE Team Emirates who took progressively more haunted with every post. And Isaac Del Toro is sometimes in those photos, far back, half hidden behind a hydration pack, trying to usually remember what it feels like to have quadriceps that don't scream. But most of the time he's not there. He's training in smaller groups at a lower volume, monitored carefully by UAE's different coaches. Here's the crucial difference. Pogačar trains to sharpen and Del Toro trains to develop and even survive. Tadej's weekly structure in the off-season looks something like this, courtesy of snippets shared by UAE staff and occasional nosy journalists. First off, he starts with around 25 to 30 hours of saddle time, often including double sessions. He'll do 2 altitude blocks of 3 weeks each, motor pace descents at 100 km an hour, because apparently gravity is part of his tapering ritual, and gym work focused on explosive power for the impossible accelerations that he uses to keep up with Mathieu van der Poel's surges and to humiliate the peloton. Del Toro, by contrast, is still being built from the ground up. His workload sits closer to 18 or 22 hours a week, with strength work prioritizing durability and stability over raw punchiness. His coach reportedly said, "We don't want him copying Tadej yet, we want him to outlast him later," which is both inspiring and terrifying. The reasoning is physiological but also psychological. Pogacar thrives on suffering. He romanticizes it. Del Toro is still learning to flirt with it. Throwing him into Tadej's world too early could dull his joy, or worse, make him believe that feeling half dead every day is the standard. Besides, Tadej's sessions aren't designed for anyone else but him. Obviously, the team work around him and help him, but Del Toro at one point wasn't even considered good enough to do that. They're like borderline bespoke madness. His coach Jeroen Swart once said that trying to match Tadej's training load is like trying to copy Einstein's homework. It only works if you're Einstein. The two occasionally overlap on endurance days or recon rides, as seen on social media, but those are diplomatic rides, like not real sessions. Think of it like politicians at a summit. Lots of smiles, no real policy decisions. The team likes the optics. Two generations pedaling side by side, but internally everyone knows they're from different planets. And there's also the politics. UAE is a mega team. But even mega teams have hierarchies. Pogacar is the sun around which everybody orbits. Del Toro, despite the hype, is still a moon learning how to glow without burning. Training too closely with the team leader can blur lines, especially when media start whispering, "the next Tadej." Management wants excitement, not an identity crisis, so separate training camps, different coaches, staggered peaks, and that's really what they're going for. Still, the internet can't help itself. Every time a fan spots a Strava segment where both names appear within the same 48 hours, forums do go a bit crazy. I've heard things like, "oh, they're secretly co-training," or "oh, UAE are building the ultimate duo." No, Karen, they're not. One of them just lives near Calpe, the other occasionally rides through there to collect KOMs for fun. The myth of the perfect duo. Let's address the elephant in the peloton. The media's obsession with pairing Pogacar and Del Toro as some master-apprentice saga. It's like the cycling equivalent of Marvel casting rumours, half speculation and half wish fulfillment. Sure, it's appealing, but the image of the calm, smiling Slovenian mentoring the shy but explosive Mexican guy sells headlines. It feels wholesome. But inside Team UAE, the relationship is far more pragmatic. Pogacar's not territorial, but he's not handing over the keys to his empire either. He's entering the phase of his career where every training block is fine-tuned for legacy, not learning. He's won the Tour multiple times, the Giro, and roughly 63% of the races he enters, give or take an exaggerated statistic. His schedule is meticulously balanced between performance, sponsorship and survival. Adding mentor sessions with Isaac to that kind of doesn't make logical sense. Meanwhile, Isaac Del Toro's camp is focused on something else entirely, turning his raw ability into repeatable excellence. The kid has the physiology, VO2 max numbers that would make a lab technician cry, but not yet the craft. Recovery instinct or stress tolerance that come from 5 years of top-tier chaos. Throwing him into Pogacar's whirlwind would be like enrolling a freshman into a PhD program taught entirely in riddles. Max Sciandri said it best in an interview earlier this season. Isaac is learning how to train like a leader without carrying the pressure of being one. Tadej already lives in that presence every day. That's the divide. Not ego, not tension, just two men living in completely different atmospheres of expectation. And that atmosphere matters. When Pogacar trains, the world watches. When Del Toro trains, he can still fail quietly. That's almost a privilege that you lose once you've been to Paris in yellow. Still, the comparisons do persist. Every promising ride Del Toro does is met with a chorus of, "Is he the next Tadej?" And every off day triggers, "Maybe he's not ready though." The same cycling people that say this probably don't really have a clue what they're on about. It's no wonder that UAE keeps their training groups compartmentalized. Protecting Del Toro's development means insulating him from the noise that follows Pogacar like a helicopter camera. It also gives Tadej space to do what he does best, obsessively chase perfection without having to babysit anyone's morale. Thank you for watching today's video. If you're new here, consider subscribing to the channel and leave a like on the video for good luck. Also consider commenting down below your opinions. I'll be interested to see what you guys think.